Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your monthly video horoscope for the month of December 2014. Here's wishing you a very happy and prosperous holiday season and the most excellent of new years. Before we start talking about the astrology that's at hand this month, I would like to stress that if you haven't been doing so already, it's very good to listen to these horoscopes for your rising sign and not just your sun sign. As a matter of fact, you'll probably find a higher degree of accuracy for your rising sign than you would for your sun sign. So if you don't know your rising sign, what you can do is visit the astrological services link on my website, AuthenticAstrology.com. And there is a link to a free chart calculator. And you can go there, enter your birth information, including your birth time. If you don't know your birth time, it's difficult to find out your ascendant. In other words, the program won't be able to figure it out for you. So you need to know your birth time. If you don't know your birth time, please continue watching these videos for your sun sign. You'll find a high level of accuracy for that, but much more accurate if you listen for your rising sign. So when you calculate your chart, what you're looking for is the ascendant. That will be your rising sign. So you can find the link through my astrological services page, but additionally, there's also a link below on this page in the description area. So knowledge is power, and there's much knowledge available to you this month, and also a higher degree of power on offer to you. But you must be willing to first face a vulnerability. In order to now progress, you're going to have to give some ground. A sacrifice is going to be required. You're going to need to let go of something important. Doing so may seem like a loss, but what you're going to gain as a result is actually much better and offers a much happier and much more liberated lifestyle than you have had the opportunity to live in quite a while. There are many, many aspects to your ruler Uranus this month, including a very powerful aspect from Pluto to Uranus. You've been dealing with this off and on since 2011. Pluto and Uranus have been involved in a tense angle with each other known as a square, and they've been applying and separating, applying and separating over the course of the last several years. Well, this month they become exact once again in their aspect, and then they move on, and once again in March, they become exact again before finally moving on, and we will not have to deal with this aspect for quite some time. So finally coming to a close, but the important thing to remember about squares is even though they bring tension, the release of the tension brings opportunity. Little bit of astrological technicalities for you. A square will eventually always resolve to either a sextile or a trine or harmonious angle. So eventually they will bring opportunity. Let's talk about the important aspects of the month as they relate to your personal astrology. We're getting these video horoscopes out there a little bit late this month. My apologies. It's just that there's only so much I can do over the course of the month, and I really do try to get them out there by the date. But I'm going to talk about a date that's already passed, but it's important in understanding the month's astrology, which is on the 6th of the month, there was a full moon in an area of your chart which relates to solutions, finding an intelligent way of working out an old situation. But what this involves, first of all, is a little bit of taking something apart and putting it back together again. The full moon in Gemini took place in a section of Gemini that's called Mrigashira. Mrigashira deals with several things, all of which are related. It's about reconciliation, but a reconciliation that occurs after there has been confusion, chaos, perhaps even a cataclysm. And things are somewhat separated in order to look at things more clearly and then put back together again in a manner that offers new opportunity and offers new growth. Now, coinciding with this, Mercury will be forming a harmonious alignment with your ruler Uranus. And this is very, very powerful. All this month, Mercury and the Sun are traveling in close proximity to each other. When Sun and Mercury conjunct each other or are even very, very close to each other, a vast level of insight becomes available. Things get clarified. It's very powerful and potent energy, and bolstering this fact is the fact that both planets at the beginning of the month will be transiting Jyeshta. This is where Mercury is at the time of its aspect with Uranus. Jyeshta translates to mean the eldest. A good description of this energy is, imagine being embroiled in a battle and things aren't working out your way. Well, Jyeshta provides you with the opportunity to withdraw from the battlefield, to temporarily retreat, so that you can gain an overview of exactly what you're dealing with, and then go back into the fray with clarity and awareness. That's the energy of Jyeshta in a nutshell. It's very empowering energy. It's energy that's associated with strength of will, but that strength of will is accompanied by wisdom. And Mercury in your chart is associated with the area of the sky that this full moon is happening. So it's going on in your 5th house, using your creative will, working out an old problem, but having long-term vision in regards to the situation as well. Mercury will be transiting your house of goals and aspirations for the future. Forming a harmonious alignment with your ruler, which is in the 3rd house. The 3rd house on many levels is about expression. It's about courage. On one level, it's about how you're approaching things. And you've been kind of in a bit of a deadlock. Well, this aspect offers you the opportunity to break through another layer of that deadlock and begin to set the wheels even further in motion towards future progress. On the 8th, just a couple of days after the full moon energy, but still coinciding with that energy, you've got an exact conjunction between the Sun and Mercury, both within Jyeshta. Now, as I was saying before, that becomes very powerful, but giving that a little bit of a boost is the fact that Jupiter, which has been direct for the last several months, is going to shift towards retrograde motion. Now, what is retrograde motion? That's when a planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky. But I use the word appears because, of course, it's not actually moving backwards in its orbit. It's just from our perspective here on Earth that it appears to be doing so. Now, when a planet is direct, that's when it's appearing to move forward once again. In between, when a planet's shifting from direct to retrograde or retrograde to direct, it stations. And for the moment that that happens, that's a very powerful day. Sometimes even a very powerful couple of days if you're dealing with an outer planet, because they move a little bit slower. And such will be the case with Jupiter. That energy will linger for a couple of days. Now, Jupiter is all about expansion, and it's all about growth. Now, Jupiter also, I should say, it's also about wisdom and intuition too, because that's very important in understanding the energy. When Jupiter stations, it creates receptivity. And this is coinciding with this Sun-Mercury conjunction. So a very powerful opportunity to integrate something in a very wonderful manner that offers a higher level of self-esteem and helps to boost you on the path ahead towards realizing a goal that you've been striving to reach for quite a long time. There can also be on the more, I will say, the more mundane level, some gains and some movement forward on the financial level for you that's accompanied by a higher degree of self-esteem. You can look for that to be associated with this energy. On the tail end of this Sun-Mercury conjunction and Jupiter stationing retrograde, you've got Mercury on the 12th and the Sun a couple of days later on the 14th. Both forming a harmonious angle to Jupiter, known as a trine. Now, the Sun and Mercury will have shifted into a section of Sagittarius, that's called Mula. Now, Mula is very driven, very passionate energy. It's got as an impulse behind it a very high level of desire to accomplish something, almost to the level that it will go to any extent in order to have that breakthrough. And this is not always the wisest approach, because quite often what will happen as a result is you'll hit a brick wall. And upon hitting that brick wall, things will seemingly fall apart until you're forced to take a look at things and take a look at what's left over and put things back together again in a new way. Now, there might be some tension that's associated with this aspect that's going on, even though it's a harmonious aspect. You may find that you have to take a look at things in a more humble light than you might have desired, than you might desire to. Just keep in mind that vulnerability and confronting a vulnerability with awareness and with the desire to rectify that vulnerability will eventually lead to a higher level of power. And Jupiter is in a section of Leo that's called Maga. And Maga relates to dignity. It relates to self-esteem. It also relates to power, but power that's based upon wisdom. Power that comes from understanding everything that has come before in a new light. That's going to bring a higher level of confidence to you this month. And it's going to help you to achieve a breakthrough. Now, at the time that both of these planets are exact in their harmonious angle to Jupiter, it will be a more balanced scale of this Mula energy. I like to use the word Sattvic. Sattvic means balance, or a state of equanimity. There will be an ability to see things from a clearer perspective, right? On the 15th, here's the big one, Uranus and Pluto squaring each other. Now, a few days later on the 20th, Venus will also square Uranus and conjunct Pluto. So Venus acts somewhat as a catalyst for this energy, and it's pretty powerful in doing so. It gives you an opportunity to heal the past. Okay, but we need to understand where both Venus and Pluto are in the sky in order to have an understanding of what this is all about. Let's take a look at Pluto first. Pluto is very no holds barred in its approach. It's going to put things in your face so that you have to take a look at them. Okay, now Venus is going to be conjuncting Pluto at the time or near the time of Pluto and Uranus's exactitude, and Uranus and Pluto will not have moved on much from their aspect by the time of Venus's exactitude with the aspect. And Venus is in a section of the sky, a section of Capricorn that Venus rules, and it's called Purva Ashadha, and that's where Pluto is as well. And that deals with being authentic, being real, perhaps having layers of the ego peeled away in a manner that may be slightly uncomfortable. But again, with a degree of humility comes a blessing, comes opportunity. It's as if you are being forced to take a look at something that you may not necessarily desire to take a look at. But if you go into it willingly, it brings an opportunity for a greater level of freedom. And it's as if a burden is shifted from your shoulders. As I was saying at the beginning of your video, you may have to let go of something in the process in order to move forward, but you'll eventually find that the weight is lighter because you've shifted a huge burden from your shoulders. And that's what this Uranus-Pluto aspect is all about. You've been kind of stuck in a state of limbo. Uranus, your ruler, is in a section of the sky that's called Revati. Revati relates to the end of one cycle, and the beginning of the next cycle has not yet come into being, but the preparations are being made for the changes, right? And the aspects that go on this month provide you with an opportunity to really make progress with those preparations. But in order to move forward, you're going to have to let go of something. On the 21st, here's a very powerful aspect for you and a very revolutionary aspect. Why? Your ruler, Uranus, after several months, is waking up. Uranus, part of the year, is retrograde. It tends to, when it's retrograde, bring change in your life on the internal level, a little bit of a personal revolution that causes you to overturn those stuck areas inside of yourself and create change in order to till the ground for planting the future seeds of progress once Uranus moves direct again. And that's what it's getting ready to do. And then you can take those internal changes and apply them externally towards creating a very high level of shift and change and opportunity in your life on the external level. This coincides with Mars newly in your sign. Now, hand in hand with that is the fact that Mars is actually in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is actually in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And that's going to make this aspect even more powerful. Mars is in a section of Aquarius, it's called Dhanishta. Dhanishta is about marching to the beat of your own drum. So marching to the beat of your own drum with Mars in Dhanishta. Okay, so you've been carrying a burden, you've been shouldering a responsibility, and even though this relates to something that is very sacred to you and very important to you, there's an opportunity to shift something from your shoulders that, although you might not want to shift, eventually you're going to find that it was very, very helpful to do so. You may find a little bit of anger at yourself over the past in not having really taken the steps previously that you're going to be taking now in creating a higher degree of change for yourself in the future. But it's best to make the change later than to have never made the change, is I guess what I mean to say. On the 23rd, there's a new moon in your 12th house, going to offer you a higher level of freedom, a degree of liberation, as I was saying before, and set wheels in motion in a very powerful manner, because this new moon will be in a section of the sky that's called Mula, as we were discussing earlier. Very passionate energy that allows you to set the wheels very strongly in motion towards creating change in your life and a high level of passion behind you. It's as if this weight newly shifted from your shoulders makes you feel more enthusiastic and full of vigor. It doesn't just make you feel that way, you actually are that way. And a lot will be accomplished as a result. On the 23rd, you've got Saturn shifting signs for the first time in a couple of years. It's going to shift into the section of your chart that deals with aspirations, hopes for the future, goals for the future, how you apply yourself in that direction. And there's an opportunity for you to realize a higher level of your potential as a result. But you're going to have to balance things out a little bit at first, as Saturn is transiting Ashadha, which on one level is about potential, but it's also about finding a balance between your needs and the needs of another. On the 25th, Mercury is going to be going over the Pluto-Uranus square. It will conjunct Pluto and also form the same tense alignment with your ruler Uranus. Now, all over the course of this month, you're likely going to find that you're having to take a look very deeply at some things that you would much rather not take a look at, right? But trust me, you will be rewarded for doing so. So even though there may be a certain degree of humility or a sobering look at things as a result, please trust that it is ultimately to your benefit, and it's going to bring such wonderful progress to your life, especially over the course of the next several months. If you'd like to know a little bit more about these changes that it's bringing into being, I do offer a vast range of astrological services, which are available through the link above. In addition, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube page yet, please consider doing so, and you'll receive regular updates every time there's a new video that's posted to this page. That's going to do it for your monthly video horoscope for the month of December, Aquarius. Until next month, please do take very good care of yourself. Have a happy holiday and a very prosperous new year.